When I had a ton of questions come in about interlinking, and so I wanted to use this video to answer the interlinking questions. Now, I pulled up a site for us to take a look at while I'm talking because it's a lot more interesting than just staring at slides all the time. But what I wanted to point out is here's just a random local site that I pulled up, but whatever I say about the local site is going to hold true for e-commerce, affiliate sites, large sites, whatever it is that you're working with. I just wanted to use the site to answer some questions. All right, one of the questions that came in is, are navigational links the same as content links? What if you have a website with a ton of navigational links in the header, the footer? Do you still need to set up interlinking within the content? So this is interlinking within the content. You can see hot water heaters going to the water heaters page, sewer drain inspections going to the sewer cleaning page. This is interlinking within the content. Interlinking within the navigation is different than within the content. You're actually given a lot more credit for interlinking when you do it within the main content. So even though you have a navigation in the header, and most of us have a navigation of some sort in the footer, like this one, you're still going to set up content interlinking like this page did. You can see the hot water heater link that I told you about and the sewer drain link, though that's interlinking within content. It is scored much differently than navigation. So even though you have a navigation, you're still going to have interlinking within the content. Now, a different question that came in one of my videos, I was reviewing an e-commerce site. And if you've missed that one, I'll link it in this video. And I was talking about interlinking. And when you set up interlinks, let's say I did 10 pages and I linked it back to the hot water heater page. Once those are crawled, you have about 2 weeks before you're given credit in the rankings, before you see your rankings go up. The question is, can you speed up that 2-week timeline? Now, you can have your pages crawled. You can force the crawl. You can do all kinds of things to make it crawl faster to make sure that it's not sitting there for 2 weeks before it's crawled. But the 2-week timeline that I gave you cannot be sped up. So my 2-week timeline is once the site has been crawled. Now, the problem with interlinks and having to crawl is that if I set up 10 anchors pointing back to the hot water heater page, I have to get all 10 of those pages crawled to pick up that I'm linking back to the hot water heater page. And that can sometimes take some time, but my 2-week time frame was after the pages have been crawled. So interlinking, you get credit for it, but it takes longer than if I were to, let's say, update the meta title or update within the actual content. Interlinking still takes about 2 weeks before you're given credit. And the way I like to look at it is with interlinking, there's some calculations that need to go on. It's not just changing the content on the actual page, but you're actually sending a link with specific anchors, and all of that has to go into calculations. What anchors are you using? What links are you interlinking from? There's a lot of the calculation that has to happen before we're given credit. So you can speed up when the site is crawled, how fast Google crawls the site, but you can't speed up the 2 weeks of calculations that's taking place. And that's just how I like to look at it. I'm sure the bots are not having to calculate for 2 weeks, but there are some type of calculations that are going on in the back end, and it's 2 weeks before we see that improvement. And the last question with interlinking that came in, not only here on YouTube, but in the Facebook group, SEO Algo Secrets, the question was, if you have a really large site, do the navigational links matter what you title them? For instance, if you take a look in on this site's navigation, you can hover over our services, you can see plumbing, and then you can see emergency plumbing, leak detection, slab links. All these are going to the different pages, like emergency plumbing is going to their emergency plumbing page. Now, what if this wasn't a small local site, but a really big local site that was nationwide? Would this matter? So emergency plumbing, you are linking to from all of your pages within the navigation most of the time in the header, and then sometimes also in the footer again. And all of these links are going to that specific page. Now, this is when you need to be careful. When you have really large sites, let's say it's 400, 500 pages, and you have 400 or 500 pages linking back with your main keyword, emergency plumbing. Sometimes I see people use emergency plumbing Austin, leak detection Leander. So what they're doing is adding the city name into these navigational links. And that's when we start to see a problem. Not just because we're using the city, but when we use exact match keywords within our navigation and we have a really large site, it can cause problems down the road for ranking those particular keywords. So whereas navigational links are counted differently than the links within the content, it can still stack up when we have large sites. So when we have 400, 500 page site, I start to pay attention to what we're calling things in the navigation. Now, if you have a small city site, let's say you're only targeting one city or two cities, sometimes even 3 cities, you don't really have to pay that close attention. But on the larger sites, on the larger affiliate sites, on the large e-com sites, on the large local sites, we can't title the navigation with exact match keywords and have that page do really well. It is a factor in that page's optimization. So if you're hammering it with 500 links that say water heater repair in Austin, you're going to have problems with water heater repair in Austin ranking really well. Now, let me rephrase this so that no one misunderstands what I'm trying to say. On the larger sites, I start paying attention to this when I'm looking at a 400 to 500 page site. I start paying attention. Did you use exact match keywords in your navigation? And if you did, I would go back and change those so that you're not using exact match keywords. This goes for an affiliate site, an e-com site, as well as a local site, any type of site. How many times are you linking back to a certain page within the navigation with an exact match keyword? You want to pay attention to that. It will make it harder for you to rank that page if you're not tailoring the rest of the on page to support those 400, 500, 600, sometimes thousands of navigational links that are coming in with the exact match keyword. So for those larger sites, pay attention to what you're using in these drop downs. Instead of saying plumbing Austin, you just say plumbing. Emergency plumbing Buda, just say emergency plumbing. Leak detection, we're only talking about leak detection, but not within specific cities within the dropdown. Affiliate, the same thing. If you're talking about the best gourmet coffee, you don't want your navigation to be best gourmet coffee if you have a 400 or 500 page site, or if you plan to grow your site to a much larger site. Pay attention to what you're using for navigational links. You don't want to use exact match keywords unless you understand that it weighs in within your on-page optimization score, and you are able to tailor down some of your on-page optimization to make up for the navigational impact that will happen when you have a large site. All right, I hope I made myself clear. I just wanted to answer those questions with interlinking. Interlinking is a really large subject on its own because each site can be slightly different. Within each niche, it's different with interlinking. So a rule of thumb that I like to go by, if you're in a low competition area, try to interlink with at least 5 pages and then go from there. Grow larger than the 5 pages if needed. A higher competition area, I'll interlink at least 10 supporting articles or pages, and then I will go up from there as needed. So if you have any interlinking questions, put them down in the questions below, or let's talk about it within the SEO Algo Secrets group. And I'll see you guys in the next video.